Before human beings had tales to tell at the fire, all the stories in the world belonged to Nyame, the sky god. They lived in a golden calabash above the clouds, out of reach of leopard, hornet, and man. People had songs, yes, and the names of rivers, but not the long stories that teach you how the world learned to be clever. This is the story of how that changed. It is not a story about strength. The strongest owned the stories already and saw no reason to share them. It is a story about a spider who was small enough to notice what giants ignored, and stubborn enough to pay a price no one else would name. Anansi was a spider who walked in the shape of a man when it suited him, and in the shape of a spider when it did not. He lived in a village where elders sighed because the nights were long and the tales were short. One morning, he climbed the thread road toward heaven and stood before Nyame in a court of cloud and gold. "I want the stories," Anansi said. "Give me the calabash." Nyame laughed the way sky laughs at earth. "The stories are not free, little one. Bring me 3 things first. Osebo the leopard, whose teeth respect no bargain. Moboro the hornets, whose sting answers every question with pain. And Moatia, the forest fairy, who cannot be seen unless she chooses. Bring them all alive and the calabash is yours." Anansi did not argue. He went down into the forest and dug a pit on the path Osebo used when he walked between shade and shade. Over the pit, he spread sticky tar and covered it with leaves and dust until it looked like solid ground. When Osebo came prowling, the leaves gave way. The leopard fought the tar and only sank deeper. Anansi appeared at the rim with vines in his hands and a smile that was not quite kind. "I have a message from the sky god," he said. "You're coming with me." Osebo snarled that he would tear the spider apart. Anansi answered that the sky was waiting and the pit was not. In the end, the leopard allowed himself to be bound, because even pride learns to choose the enemy it can survive. Next, Anansi went to the great silk cotton tree where Moboro's nest hung like a gray heart. He cut a small hole in a dry gourd and held it under one arm. With the other, he carried a calabash of water. He poured the water over his own head and called up to the hornets. "The rain has come, but there is only room for one under my leaf. Come into my gourd where it is dry." Hornets hate wet wings more than they hate spiders. They poured into the gourd in an angry stream. Anansi plugged the hole with a wad of palm fiber and tied the neck shut. Moboro's fury buzzed inside like a storm in a jar, and Anansi walked on, counting 2 of 3. Moatia. The fairy could not be caught by force. She took what she wanted from yam mounds and vanished before your second blink. Anansi pounded a yam until it was smooth, then built a child-shaped figure from sticky tar and set it beside the mound with the yam in its lap. When Moatia came to steal, she asked the figure for the yam. It did not answer. She struck it. Her hand stuck. She struck with the other hand. That stuck too. By the time she was fully joined to the tar, Anansi stepped out of the grasses and wrapped her in vine. Some say she cursed him as he carried her away. Anansi only shrugged. Curses, like stories, could wait until he had what he came for. Anansi climbed the thread road again with Osebo bound behind him, Moboro sealed in gourd, and Moatia tangled in vine. The court of Nyame was full of light. The sky god looked at the 3 captives and looked at the spider. "You paid the price," Nyame said. "Not everyone does." He took down the golden calabash and placed it in Anansi's hands. Inside were all the stories that had ever been and ever would be, packed tight as seeds. Anansi bowed. He did not open it there. Some wisdom is knowing when to wait until you are home before you spend what you earned. In the village that evening, Anansi opened the calabash. Stories spilled out like fireflies. Tales of leopard and hornet, of sky and vine. of the day the small one out thought the proud. Children learned them. Elders learned them. Travelers carried them to other villages, and those villages made their own versions, because that is what stories do when they are finally free. So when you hear that Anansi is only a trickster, remember this. He did not steal the stories. He bought them, and the price was every clever thing he knew how to do. That is why the spider still has 8 hands for trouble, and why we still have stories to tell when the fire burns low. This was Forgotten Fables. This was Anansi and the Sky God from the folk traditions of West Africa. Follow the channel when you want the next story the loud world forgot.